Pick a team this year, NBA team.
Do Utah, because they shoot a lot of threes off the dribble. A lot of their threes come off the dribble. Like Niang's a catch and shoot guy. Bogdan, but even Bogdan will put it down one time before he shoots it, shot fake. But Connolly, Mitchell, Clarkson, even Ingles and pick and roll, like those guys shoot a lot of threes off the dribble. It would be interesting to see their percent. They might be half and half off the dribble and catch and shoot. They might be a 50-50 split out of all their jumpers.
Yeah, it's close.
Might even be more.
671 catch and shoot, 596 off the dribble.
I mean, they shoot a lot and they make a lot. What do they shoot? They probably shoot close to 40% on. I bet they don't shoot that high. I bet it's right under 40 off the dribble.
37 field goal percent.
A lot of them are threes, yeah. Off the catch, what are they probably as a team? Above 40, I would think, right?
40.4. Yep. Adjusted 60%.
So what's points per possession off the catch and versus the dribble?
Off the catch, they're 1.206, fourth in the league. Off the dribble, they're 1.012, fourth in the league.
Yeah, so. And he's able, so we're still being efficient. I got it, but like the other thing, and look at their layups. What are they around the basket? If you go to shot location, it'll be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're shooting 59% as a team.
And points per possession is what?
1.222.
So 1.222 on layups and close to 1.2 on catch and shoot, right? So
1.206
on average, right? And this is the thing, even back in whatever it was, 2009, 10, when I had my first kind of teams I coached, these the fifth and sixth graders that didn't make the local travel teams that all the dads coached, and then a handful of fifth and sixth grade girls that no one stepped up to coach them. We combined them into like a group of 18 and split them into two teams, practiced together, and then played in separate teams on the weekends. And they weren't very good, just to be quite honest. And I remember meeting with Hank, and he made a good point. He said the only two shots they really have a chance of making, and they're still probably not going to make them, are layups and catch and shoot shots. Anything we ask them to do off the dribble, it's going to be really tough for them, like in terms of shooting. And so that makes a lot of sense. Because even just growing up, you just start practicing catch and shoot more, right? Your dad's passing the ball, you're playing horse or whatever, right? And that made a lot of sense. And it was true. So now every strategy we did at that point was based on how do we get layup, open the floor to get layups, and how do we get catch and shoots. And then when you think about it, you're like, well, we probably should at least get catch and shoot threes instead of twos. One, because they're worth more, but also if our team is spaced out to the three, that gives us a better opportunity for what? A layup, which is the ultimate shot we want, right? Like that's the ultimate shot. That's where you're trying to exhaust all opportunities to get a layup. And that was back then. This is fifth, sixth grade boys, girls. And then as you evolve and go to the years, you could say that about every player, right? Kevin Durant, his most efficient shot is going to be a layup and then a catch and shoot three, however you slice and dice it. And you go and you connect that to Pareto's principle. It says what? 20% of what our input, 20% of what we focus on gives us 80% of our output. So you talk to coach, you say, okay, what type of shots do you like? And after you talk to them, they have 42 different shots they like, right? Well, this guy's a good shot for this guy, and that's a good, and it's like, well, we really don't have anything we've outlined as a good shot, right? And it's just like you got to focus on, and then can a guy shoot a shot off the dribble? Can a guy shoot a pull up? Yeah, I'm not against it. I'm not just this, but like at least exhaust all opportunities for us to get a layup, right? That's the only thing that makes sense. And so if I'm the opposing coach, and this was with St. Joe's, we'd watch their games, and I know the shots we were going to get. And the odd thing about St. Joe's was, or not the odd thing, the thing I learned is we never talked about actually the shots we wanted with them. Just by the strategy we developed and how we practiced, by default, the only shots they ever got were layups and threes, right? That was just what happened. It wasn't like we want to shoot only layups and threes, no mid-range. That was just what happened. And they play games and like, first 5 minutes of a game, they might be down 14-4. But like I knew they were going to end up winning by 30 because the shots they were getting were like layups, wide open shots. They had the team spinning around. The guy had, opportunity to shoot a catch and shoot with 5 seconds, no one around him, right? 5 seconds to line up the laces. And they just weren't going in. But he knew over the course of the game, well, every time we shoot that shot, it's really just 1 point invisibly. We can't see. It's 1.5 points. And then the other team, they'd be making all these tough shots to start. And they're all hype. And you kind of know, well, like that guy's making these step back shots off the dribble. He makes that like 30% of the time. He just made 3 in a row. So what's going to happen now? He's going to miss the next 7. And what do you think would happen? 5 minutes later, St. Joe's would be up by 20, right? Because they would consistently got these shots, and the other team was getting these bad shots. And so, and you just watch, any game, college NBA, but like part of it is the culture glorifies it, right? Like man, that's tough. That's like, how do you stop this guy? He's unstoppable. Well, are you forgetting about the 8 previous possessions? He shot the same shot and missed it, and we're glorifying the one time he made it, right? And or that's great. Or then when he misses it, what do they say?
Great defense.
Great defense. I mean, it had nothing to do with the bad offense. The guy just dribbling up, isolating, and shooting a long 2 contested with 18 seconds of shot clock. It was great defense. So it's I don't know how we got in the conversation, but
have you looked into like layups off the dribble versus no dribble? What is, if any?
I don't know that one. The other thing that I think about too is layups, like, and being more specific, like you want layups like going downhill, your shoulders of the rim, right? Like just boom, we're right. Like you said, off the cut or off the one thing too to look about is going across the lane. So I have the ball in the right wing, and I'm with my left hand going across the lane, finishing across the rim with the left. I'd be interested to see the discrepancy in percentage versus just a straight line drive. Right slot to the right side of the hoop. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because like I don't even know if I'd help off that. If you can edge a guy, get up, wall up, like that's actually a tough shot to make. If you've got a defender walling up. Not a lot of people make that, especially going to their weak hand, because then they take a second dribble, they jump off 2 feet, they lose balance. But overall, you want to get the ultimate shot is getting late. But in the irony of it all is like when coaches design defense, that's what they talk about though, right? They say we don't want to give up layups, but then they design offenses that don't really give them any chance to get layups, and they glorify all these other shots. Very weird to me. Yeah. But you only know what you know. And so we all grow up kind of like we just talked about. Well, why do you spank your kids? Well, my dad did. Well, why do you run this offense? Well, that's what, my high school coach did, and we did in college. And then I was an assistant for him under 10 years, and all of a sudden became a head coach. Well, what else do I know? And then now when you get in these roles, the pressure winning's on. So you don't really have this buffer to kind of create and fall and stumble, because you're like, I got a wife and kids. I can't get fired.
Right.
I can't try something. I don't have a year or 2 to kind of tinker with things and maybe evolve. And it's all easier said than done, right? Like those are really hard jobs. And that's why I like sitting in my chair in New Hampshire. I can just, tinker and learn and try things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But yeah, yeah. Well, I was talking to Hank, and he just say, the biggest thing is like, and this has been a reoccurring theme really like over all the years, right? Even when I was like just starting off with youth locally, well, what do you know? You just work with little kids, or you're just a, skills guy, a workout guy, whatever, and it's like, you've never been a head coach. And I said, well, okay, so all of a sudden, if I was a head coach in the GNAC for 20 years, it was awful, but I was a head coach. All of a sudden that gives me credibility, like as opposed to I'm an independent coach. Right. And I think that like, whether you coach individual players, whether you coach and you get your check biweekly from a team or a college or whoever, like all the rules should apply. All the coaches should have this, at least some prerequisite level of knowledge, the principles of sport, invasion sport, and for basketball, the principles of learning, the principles of motor learning, all this stuff, right? And we were talking about like, well, this guy can't shoot. Well, you've had him for 3 years. You coach him 9 months out of the year. Isn't that your job? This guy can't think. Well, isn't that your job? And then, what kind of happens sometimes being on this side is then they'll blame the guy that works with the guy for 2 weeks in the summer. Well, what you guys do all summer? Well, I mean, I only had him for 2 weeks. And like, hold on a second. You've had him for 10 months the last 3 years, right? And you are in the NBA. I mean, let's be real. Like, you should know what you're doing. And so it's just funny to me. But like going back to, and then they say, well, can you really like, but you're a workout guy, you're still got like, we can't really like, they don't really know about offense and defense and like the real basketball. I just think it's so funny, and it's like such a challenge to change that stigma, right? Like, if you coach, you can coach, right? You should be able to run a team. You should be able to work with individual players. You should be able to work with men, women, youth, NBA. It doesn't matter, right? New Hampshire, LA, Oklahoma City, Venezuela. Who cares, right? Why does that matter? I mean, and like that's always kind of like you have to fight that stigma, and that's been on my mind lately.